Are solo artists commercial style over substance constructs? Using Childish Gambino as a case study, I would like to focus on the issues such as his sense of identity as a person of colour, his views on capitalism, and his opinion on feminist issues. I would also like to discover whether or not he truly believes in the quality of his music, or whether it's just a way of making money to him. By exploring the cultural construct of Donald Glover, I aim to find out the meaning he invests into his songs. Throughout his discography, Donald Glover has showcased a broad sense of identity. Camp playing on harsh black ethnic stereotypes, Because the Intellect exploring sweet vocals and the perils of technology, Kawaii telling a blissful summer romance with barely any rap at all, and Awaken My Love delving into postmodern funk, hip-hop and R&B. The social construction of Childish Gambino, therefore, is deep set into his music. During this video I will be focusing on Camp and Kawaii. He had self-released albums from 2009 before signing with Glassstone Records in 2011, and then RCA in 2018. With 10 million monthly listens on Spotify alone, he has the power to communicate his ideology clearly to a mass following, indicating a high stance in society. However, due to his highly stylized work as a producer on his own music, and fitting into a whole variety of genres, some people may induce a stereotype of his work of being style over substance. Childish Gambino's African American origins are a key part of his identity, with his key influences Wu-Tang Clan, Kanye West and Outkast all being from similar descent. Over the course of Camp, Childish Gambino's studio debut album, he explores both through his lyrics and via the footage used in his music videos, the racial discourse he's faced as a person of colour throughout his childhood. He focuses on both the implications of his ethnicity as a black man, and also the complications he faced as he enjoyed stereotypical white cultural products and practices, such as being the only black kid at a Sufjan concert. Called names such as Oreo growing up due to its black outside and white centre, Donald Glover's family had moved from an insalubrious area to a nicer, whiter area in the hopes to obtain a better future for himself, rather than following the one-size-fits-all lifestyle that was available to people of colour from such a rundown area. Being a product of a multicultural lifestyle meant needing to defend his blackness, whilst enjoying elements of both black and white cultures. Because of this, he suffered marginalisation from both sides of his identity, due to an overshadowing sense of otherness in both sides protruding over the other. Again, with names such as Oreo being signifiers of how black culture marginalised Donald Glover.
This rap stuff is magic. I used to get called Oreo and faggot.
This comes from both the ethnocentrism perpetuated by those in white culture through their pushing of their own culture upon him, and the essentialism perpetuated by people of colour themselves through the otherness he received as he did not fit into the essentialist criteria of a person of colour, imposing an image of true blackness. His bricolage identity is a theme running throughout the album, being voided acceptance as a real black kid because of this, but still facing the implications of being black.
We all look the same to the cops. Ain't that good enough?
This lyric highlights the institutional racism he may have suffered. Again, his bricolage identity is so clearly infused into the production of his music, with elements from stereotypical white music, influenced by the likes of Radiohead and hip-hop vibes associated with black culture merged together.
Black and white music? Now nigga, that's a mixtape.
This alludes to both the popularity of his mixtapes and plays on words of mixed race, meaning of white and black origins. This is a clear influence on his identity, and therefore, by including it in his music, it rejects the idea of it being style over substance performance, since the underlying message clearly overshadows any sort of stylistic importance. The album has been accredited as a riveting album about race, class, opportunity, tribalism, love, and the pitfalls of fame. However, it does not do much in regards to respect for women. Countless lyrics refer to the female gender through essentialist values, narrowing down women to a pair of tits and a vagina, contributing to symbolic annihilation by providing no real representation of women within his sector of the media, reducing nights spent together to a derogatory line in a song. Throughout this album, therefore, it is clear that while he is exploiting the female body amongst other things, he is also speaking out on racial and ethnic issues, particularly to do with the otherness he has faced as a person who blurs the lines between black and white. It is clear that substance within the album is strong and sensitive, ruling out the possibility of it being a style over substance construct. Kawaii is largely an album surrounding romance, heartbreak and femininity, with inclusion of little else throughout the album. The proceeds of the EP went to the conservation of Kauai, the fourth largest island in Hawaii. Throughout the narrative of this concept album, there is a lot of comparison with women to drugs, Sober, the first track, discusses how he relied on mind-numbing drugs to cope with the hard breakup and his following suicidal tendencies.
And now that it's over, I'll never be sober. I couldn't believe, but now I'm so high.
On the next track of the EP, he discusses how his next relationship with his now wife has fixed this, relating her love for him to the feeling of being on a powerful drug, and how he no longer needs to be inebriated in order to feel normal, let alone loved and cared for.
Now that we have found this love, baby, I've never felt this real.
Instead of his previous objectification of women and enhancing the overall commodification of the sexuality of women, he embraces the romanticization of the world and being in love, with even a possibility of intertextuality with Shakespeare's Sonnet 18.
It's the summer days, never fade away. It just stays the same in my mind. No, no, no.
Sonnet 18 is a very famous sonnet conveying Shakespeare's eternal love for a girl, immortalizing her in his love. It alludes references to a beauty like a summer's day that shall not fade, similarly to the lyrics in Poke. This reference to Shakespeare could be seen as a landmark for Romanticism, taking away from the previous misogynistic values portrayed throughout camp. As an article by Forbes said, speaking on camp, it is hard to empathise or sympathise with the guy who places a woman on a pedestal on one track, only to knock them off said pedestal and objectify them in a juvenile manner on the next tune. This perception of Donald Glover's music has now been reversed, presenting a solid case for the appreciation of women and an alliance with feminism, with this added romanticisation of the female body and mind throughout the album. Overall, the EP has a very postmodern vibe to it, resurrecting beats from the past decade and a half. In just 7 tracks, Childish Gambino recaptures old signs and simulacra and recycles them into newer, more relevant beats, incorporating funky R&B bass lines on tracks and creating a bricolage of genres in order to appeal to the current modern audience. The packaging of the physical copy of Kauai involves a minimalistic front cover and a plain iridescent disc, with the only printing being the title in a simple black font. The simple design incorporates postmodern values, rejecting image-based culture and challenging meta-narratives, as in Jean-Jacques Lyotard's theories such as the beauty myth and capitalism based on style over substance work.
It's all about packaging, right? Real shit though. Good and bad is all relative, man. It really is. A lot of niggas is sheep. We don't even know what we like anymore. We just know what's the most hype and shit. Do you really like that shit you like? Or you like the way they gave it to you?
Overall, the theme for this album is very romantic and important to Donald Glover, exposing his feelings to his entire audience. Focusing on the artist's experiences of romance and the impact it has had on his identity means again, this album cannot be considered as the style over substance construct, since it goes so deep into the very soul of him as an artist, rather than just stylized meaningless music that could be compared to something by a mainstream artist like Lil Pump. So, is Childish Gambino a style over substance construct? Does his music serve as a capitalist tool in order to bring in money? On one hand, it could be argued that due to the extortionate costs of recent records costing over £50, he could be argued as a capitalist tool for raking in money. However, for a long time these objects of desire were released for free by Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, including an array of EPs, mixtapes and full-length albums. He once said, trying to make somebody pay for music is like a bakery trying to get people to pay for smelling the bread as they walk by. In my opinion, Childish Gambino is in no way a style over substance construct. His work is explorational and revolutionary. His stage presence, usually in just a white t-shirt and black jeans, adds to this theory. The way he is put across artificially is not what matters to him or his fans. Instead, it truly is his passion and his interest for his work that pulls in his fans. It seems that only since being signed onto major record deals that his work has been upped in price. Therefore, it may be fair to argue that the artists themselves do not exist in order to contribute to the capitalist regime, but instead their record labels and representation, while increasing their musical opportunities, are the base of this capitalist fetishism of their work.